Hello everyone. Sorry we are not coming live today. You will get you guys will hear this recording later on. Today we have Karthik from Chennai Climate Action Group who is going to talk about ongoing battle regarding various human rights. Thankfully, I am Madhavi. I am leading this series for Leaning into Network for Ovigal and Simi, where we are going to meet people who are working in environment and sustainability sector. So we'll start, Karthik. Let's start with your introduction.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Karthik. I'm from Chennai. So basically, I work for farmers and environment related issues. So I am employed kind of in couple of civil society organizations. I would say it's like one is called PGS Organic Council, and then the others like Keystone Foundation. We work mainly with farmer groups who are following organic practices. We support them in terms of collectivizing, in terms of collective marketing, and in terms of collective guarantee system. That's an authenticating system that we uh, provide to them. That I do, and apart from that, I also work for some environmental. I volunteer for some environmental organizations and issues. Like I work for a vetting collective in Chennai, and then there's another organization called Poolagan and Berger, for whom also I volunteer. Apart from this, as mentioned in the poster, I'm also part of a collective called Chennai Climate Action Group. It's a newly formed collective, mostly from people from Chennai, who came up like who wanted to work for against this environmental and climate injustice that's happening. So that led to the genesis of this group, and then we are a very small set of really enthusiastic, mostly youth, who work for various environmental issues and things like that. One of them is the recent issue happening in Vedandangal Bird Sanctuary in Tamil Nadu. So that is one of our campaigns that we run. The multiple other things that we do as a collective.
Okay, thank you, Karthik. So I would like to start with knowing what is nature for you. How would you describe Mother Earth?
Okay. I being a city born, and I still kind of live in Chennai. This is a city. So uh, like the connect with nature has not been something which is always there with for me from my childhood. I would say like it's not very much connected with nature, but it's not too disengaged as well. Like I used to spend from my childhood. I used to spend a lot of time in outdoors only. I never played computer games or video games or even mobile games. It was more of I was always an outdoor chap from my childhood. Uh, in terms of what nature means to me is, I would say everything within and outside me is nature. I'm not one of those who try to super romanticize nature as something very pristine and things like that. I find it like that a symbiotic relationship that I experience with nature. Uh, and since you told nature, it's always been one feeling that I have a lot inside myself is gratitude. Gratitude for I would say whatever nature has given and whatever it has not given. Um, so yeah, that's it. But it is not a very my life is not, at least till now, it's not been very much like in tune, like fully in tune with nature in terms of knowing all species of birds and plants and animals and things like that.
Yeah, being in tune with nature is not always related to zoology, right? So when did you realize or when did you decide that you want to pursue this path, or when did you feel that connect with nature or environment or the work which you are doing right
It's I wouldn't say it's one point. It's a it's series of things, I would say. So basically, from my childhood, the notion of socio-economical issues have already been there. Even though I've not understood it much, even now I'm trying to understand it only. But there has always been a concern in me regarding the social and economical issues. That was the one I was carrying. Maybe I would say in college as well. But again, my I would say my life was very mainstream. While I think I was like properly set up for the system that we live in, for the society that we live in. I was like kind of tracked that system, and I was like flourishing in that system, I would say, in terms of finding a good college to study and then followed by a good job. But then this concern for social and economic related things were always there in me. When I started exploring about these things a little bit more, I kind of understood that environmental issues are like kind of the root cause for all this social, not always social, but at least for all the economical issues. Environmental issues are like one of the root causes. They are so much in line. So I felt that this is more intriguing and it could be much stronger. And once I got to understand the worldview that I'm living in is totally rubbish, I decided that this is not the place I have to be. And it was more like what I learned for 20, 23, 22 odd years are all false. And there's something totally different that I have to learn. That's when I decided that, okay, fine. I think we have to quit and then start doing something. There's so much work also in this space that has to be done. And volunteering and spending part time into it, not something that I could do, like not contribute enough for the cause. So that's how it started. And then from then it's been like I've visited a lot of people, a lot of places. I've now visited a lot of environment related spaces, alternative spaces, and it's been like really what we say, enriching experience, I would say, till now. Yeah, it's been 2.5 years to be precise, yeah, since I left.
So now, talking about Vedantangal Bird Sanctuary, what is the ongoing dispute about? If you have to explain it to a lay person who doesn't know anything, what should we know and what is happening right
Okay, okay. Um, I'll try to okay, and I'll hit on the Vedantangal issue. So basically, to start off, I want to mention something like the current paradigm that we are in terms of the way we define development and way we define progress, growth, or whatever terms we use. Itself is a very flawed argument. So at least I think we have to come to that consensus before we start trying to understand the integrities of any environmental issues. So what we define as infrastructure has to be clearly like anything that has been constructed is not only, those are not infrastructure. A mountain can be an infrastructure because it gives water to you. A river can be an infrastructure. A lake is an infrastructure. So anything, it's not infrastructure is not something that has to be built, or like it is not something which has concrete or something. So basically we have to come to that understanding before we try to understand the environmental issues surrounding it. So what's happening in Vedantangal is so Vedantangal Bird Sanctuary is it's a very popular bird sanctuary in Tamil Nadu, and there's an attempt made by the state to reduce the boundaries of the Vedantangal Bird Sanctuary. So that is the main core issue that's happening. So there's a lot of internal issues associated with it. So basically, Vedantangal Sanctuary is there's a lake, and then surrounded by it, there's some crops and other forests and other things. There's some forest much, crops and things, croplands and things like that. So the surrounding 5-kilometer area is defined as the sanctuary. So the lake plus the 5-kilometer radius is defined as a sanctuary. Recently in January, the state government had put up a proposal to and that's a body called NBWL, National Board for Wildlife. So they approve these kinds of things. Anything related to protected areas, that is sanctuaries and natural parks, are addressed by these people. So they have put up a proposal to reduce the 5-kilometer radius to 3-kilometer radius. That is like reducing almost 40% of the bird sanctuary. So Vedanangal has what's a unique history, I would say, because it's more than the state protecting it. There's been historical significance. It has been a historical significance of people living there. The farmers and living there have consciously have conserved the lake and surrounding area from all over the world. There are like almost 200 types of bird species that visit Vedanangal every year, and almost a lakh of it touches lakh sometimes, and a few 10,000s of birds that visit Vedanangal every year. So why would to initially why would birds from so long come here? Because it is acquainted to the people, it is acquainted to the environment. So people have been conserving this area for centuries because they had a symbiotic relationship with the birds. So paddy yield in Vedanangal is said to be one of the highest because of the birds coming there. The birds shit mixes with the water, and that makes the land very fertile, and the yield over there is very high. So there's a historical conservation that is happening, but then it has also been recognized by government, and it's declared as a bird sanctuary. Now with Vedanangal being very close to Chennai and a lot of commercialization activities happening around, they find many industries find this just an hindrance to develop industries around Vedanangal. So I think that's where the proposal to reduce the boundaries from 5 kilometers to 3 kilometers happened. But then the story didn't end there. Once we came to know about this, we tried to explore more about the issue and visited the place and things like that. When we did that, we saw that there are few industries already placed inside the sanctuary. So basically, there should not be any industries placed inside the sanctuary, and 3 very polluting industries are situated inside the sanctuary. Like the Sun Pharmaceutical Limited, there is Amco Batteries, and there's Odd Healthcare Private Limited. And 2 of them are pharmaceutical companies, which are mostly pharmaceutical companies are known for their toxic effluents that they discharge and the water pollution that leads to it. So what has happened is, over decades, without proper permissions, these industries are functioning, operating within the sanctuary. And now, if the boundaries get reduced, they will become legalized. So that's the whole this thing. So once if the boundary reduced, they will not be inside the sanctuary. So basically, their illegality will become legal. That is maybe the idea behind what we say, the reduction in the boundary, I would say. Apart from that, the people in that area have been severely affected. The farmers have been severely affected by the water pollution caused by these industries situated inside the Vedanangal. A place which was flourishing in agriculture has become not suitable for farming, and many of them have lost hope in farming, stopped farming, and sold their lands to want to sell their lands, or already sold their lands to real estates and other industries. So there is a people's angle also, and then there is an environmental angle also attached to it. Like this is like one of world-renowned bird sanctuary, and we have to be proud that it is. We are hosting almost so many 200 species, to be precise, more than 200 species of birds. And this, if it is passed, if the boundaries is reduced, the area will become a playground for all toxic industries to come surrounding the bird sanctuary, and it's going to drastically affect the birds as well as the farming community over there, and in future affect us also. Like it's all interconnected.
Yeah, rightly said. It's all interconnected. So now with Chennai Climate Action Group, what work you guys are planning to do, or what are your targets, or what work you have already done? What is going on?
Okay. So as I told already, Chennai Climate Action Group is a voluntary group of people who share this common concern for environmental degradation and the injustice happening surrounding environmental issues and climate issues. So I would say, like, we work individually. We all of us are in our own individual skills doing a lot of things, but as a collective, we run campaigns mostly related to environmental issues in Tamil Nadu and more closer to Chennai. We run campaigns and we try to resolve some of the issues at least in which we can work. So for example, Save Vedantangal is one of the campaigns that Chennai Climate Action Group has taken up. So what we do is we try to there are multiple strategies that we follow in terms of running a campaign. We try to popularize the issue. We'll try to take the legal aspects and then find out the issues associated with it. We write articles. We fight with the government agencies and things like that. So we do multiple such things. For every environmental issues that we take up, we do various kinds of actions. For example, for Save Vedantangal campaign, since it's lockdown, we could have done a lot of physical actions if it was not a lockdown, but it was a lockdown period. So most of our actions were virtual. But our group, generally, we do both. Like we are part of the physical actions as well as virtual actions. So one thing that we did was we ran a Twitter campaign with the hashtag Save Vedantangal campaign that trended in Tamil Nadu at number 2, I guess, and even in India it trended within top 10. And then we have been constantly collecting evidences and things like that to prove what are the issues associated with or happening around Vedantangal bird sanctuary that we have done. We have been petitioning and things like that. And we have also started an email campaign, writing to the NBWL, to the state government, explaining the issues and trying to get this proposal rejected. One interesting thing which happened during the email campaign was a group of doctors came in and said that since these are pharmaceutical companies, they would like to contribute or they would like to involve themselves in the campaign as well. So a group of doctors, I would say, have written to Sun Pharmaceutical Company and Audrian Healthcare, both of which is pharmaceutical companies, asking them to clearly withdraw their operations, which is happening within a sanctuary. Just imagine there's a sanctuary. Sanctuary is a protected area, and in whole of India, only 5% is protected. And in that, within the protected area, not even outside, within the protected area, there are very highly polluting industries which are operating. So that was something interesting. So we tried to involve kids. So there was some artwork that kids have done and shared it with us regarding Vedantangal. Lots of photographs have been shared. So we kind of run the campaign in multiple ways possible based on each of the campaign. Earlier we ran another campaign called Let Chennai Breathe. So it was regarding the air pollution that is happening in suburbs of Chennai in a place called Ennur, due to various thermal power plants and other factories and the support also. Due to those, there are a lot of air pollution related things, and we ran a campaign for that. So it is like this. So we pick up on issues and then we take multiple actions, both physical actions in terms of protesting, in terms of conducting seminars, in terms of conducting. We did a launch of a music video for Save Chennai Breathe, Let Chennai Breathe campaign, and multiple other things. We use art, we use knowledge, we use academics and multiple other things, and try to fight it out at least, if not win the battle.
Thank you for sharing. So now, personally, working on ground or going into activism, how has your work changed yourself? Like, what in your personal life, what changes you have noticed?
Uh, Firstly, I'm not into fully activism. I try to state that I work for multiple things. I work for NGOs as well. So into constructive work as well, yeah, and into like multiple things. So that is one. How life has changed is it is like it's totally flipped the coin. I would say like it's totally the opposite of what I used to. Firstly, there has been a lot of unlearning that has happened in this 2.5 years. Uh, the pride or the head weight that I was carrying, that I am an intellect and I know things just because I cleared some, I would say, an entrance exam and got into a well-known college and I was well paid, was shattered completely. I realized that how dumb I was, and I am right now also. That is one thing that I realized. This like the worldview that I had before, what meant development to me. Like I would say, like during my college days, the best social workers were, for me at least, were Ratan Tata and Bill Gates, and the environmentalist was Elon Musk. That was the worldview that I was having. These 2.5 years has totally snatched and thrown away that worldview and that pride or whatever we call it from me, and it has been a very much unlearning and relearning experience, I would say, 2.5 years, and it's going to continue that way. I feel I've unlearned a lot of things, not only in terms of environment, in terms of other issues, in terms of once you come inside this, slowly it grabs you completely, like in terms of caste issues, in terms of women empowerment issues, feminism. So it has this shift has touched me in all angles, in terms, obviously majorly in terms of environment, um, and the respect that I have for indigenous communities in India. um, that that has been the broader this thing. It's I'm in a very early stage. I would say it's been like all like you, me, and all of us are very in our youths. We can say lot to learn and lot to, but it's an engrossing thing. It's completely engrossed. Like for example, it has changed the way I watch movies, the things I read. It is almost like for me, weekends don't matter much. Matter much. It's always like I'm always working kind of a thing. I'm always reading. I'm always trying to update myself. Uh, if not for a small group of my school friends who keep me sane in terms of others, it's apart from them, it's my whole life is nothing but the work that I do and the things that I care for. That is farmer related issues, environmental related issues, social justice related issues. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, rightly said. There is more to unlearn than there is to learn. So yeah, that journey has just begun, right? So now this question I'm asking for my personal self also, because this is a difficult battle. There are struggles every day where you are uh, like you. It is very easy to feel
Madhavi,
this.
I'm not able to hear you. This is a difficult battle I heard. After that,
Okay,
it
I'm
got
sorry.
cracked.
Am I audible now?
No, it's still cracking. Maybe try switching off your video.
Yeah, yeah. Am I audible now?
And then
Is it
yeah,
is it
yeah,
better?
yeah,
Yeah. So what
yeah,
is
yeah, please.
how yeah. So how do you take care of yourself? What is your coping mechanism? Because it is like flowing in reverse direction. So each and every day, something or the other you have to face where you are like there is lot of disappointment and lot of factors which are affecting what work we all are doing right now in this sector. So how do you take care of yourself?
Okay, okay, interesting. So just a second. Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So it's relatively easy for people like you for whom the parents are also supporting. uh, so maybe I'll try to articulate the problems, okay, firstly, that anyone who comes into, not only me, and since it's a general question, I'll articulate the problems so that it becomes easier for people who are coming new also to understand. We can broadly think of problems in 3 or 4 points, I'd say. First is like as I told, I wouldn't say negativity, the difficulty of the issue in hand. That is very, what we say, very intriguing to us. Okay, there's so much issues surrounding us. As you come in, you keep hearing issues. There's issue over this, over that, and then I would say not everybody, but at least I went into an existential crisis. That's the first thing that you do. That is when you get this inspiration to leave job and then do all fancy stupid things and then learn by it. So first is that the existence. I'll try to say what I did for all of this, but then I'll try to articulate the issues first. So one is that the existential crisis that we come in, and the humongous, the hugeness, I would say, hugeness of the issue in hand. There's climate change happening. There is environmental degradation happening. The indigenous communities are like treated badly. There's so much issues. That's first. Next is mostly in mainstream, we are given a clear path. Okay, so you finish 10th, you finish 12th. There's an entrance exam, or you get into an engineering college, or maybe into if you're really different, into commerce. And then the 4 years or 3 years over there is also defined clearly. You know what to do in first year, second year, and there'll be a placement in fourth year. And then once you placed also, you clearly know what is ahead of you. And even if you want to change paths, like you are into engineering and you want to go into management, the path is very clearly defined for you in mainstream. You know clearly that if I have, it's like as simple as just maintain your LinkedIn account, and then you know your career path is clear. This famous question of like, what do you want to, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's like pretty easy, comparatively easy, I would say, when you are in mainstream. But when you come into this alternate sector, there's no clear-cut path available to you, and there's no examples that you can follow. Like mainly for our generation of people who are coming in, there are not much examples to follow, because like this is the first band of such people coming in, like people who are like in such amount, I would say, like people who are so much involved in environmental issues in such amount coming and working in it. This is, I would say, the first generation. Like previous generation also had, but the number of people are relatively less. This is like a huge number of people. So we don't have examples also. That's the second issue that we have. Third issue is like financials, I would say. In terms of economically, I would say this sector is not very rewarding, and I feel it should not be rewarding, at least for quite some time. Very much, too much rewarding, I would say. So that when we're trying to destroy a monster, we should not become the monster. So that is the third. And then when financials, it comes to your own individual, maintaining your own individual finances, and that you have to contribute for your family. That comes up. And the last thing is the lack of support that you get from parents, relatives, neighbors, sometimes friends, and things like that. These are broadly the issues that all of us are facing in different, like each of us. For you, maybe the parent pressure from parents is relatively less, but then there are other pressures that you might be handling. For me, my own life experience will have my own set of issues. So coping up, firstly, I bluntly say it's very, very difficult, literally very difficult. The most difficult part is the first thing that I explained. Okay, other things are logical, and then you can do something. The first thing that there's so much negativity, there's so much depressing news you keep hearing. It is difficult, and then I don't know. I think I'll never know the right answer to it on how to cope that particular aspect. Keep working is something that will keep you going, I feel, instead of just sitting. If you're contributing something, I think that always helps. That makes you more relaxed. So it's like basically the pursuit of justice, okay? And then and truth, I would say. But then justice and truth is never attainable completely. So it's a path that you try to contribute your level, and then you kind of have to make up your mind to be at peace with uh, anything that's happening. Other things are, I think, a little bit logical, and then those can be coped up. Having talking to a lot of people involved in this, talking to elders involved in this sector is very useful. Listening to them is very vital in terms of getting the path that we want to carry, and then having a core principle that we grow up with. More than that, there's always need for us to know knowledge about environmental issues and things like that we work for. But apart from that, the core values that we carry and the core principles that we carry inside, I think, will be developed by listening, talking, discussing with elders. There are lots of such events also. We met in one of those events where we get to interact with a lot of such people and things. I think we as youngsters should not shy away from getting advice, or it's not like we have to follow, but then we have to keep asking the elders in the sector of various things, and that is one that's what gave some path to my whatever I'm doing now. Financials, yeah, I think it is. If your family is not on your income, you're doing great injustice if you are not catering to that financial expectation of you. Okay, that is to be plainly, I think, plainly defined. So if your family or if any situation is dependent on your income and they need X amount of money, you have to earn that X amount of money somehow. Okay, that is up to you how smart you are. You can be in this sector itself and then earn that X amount of money, or be in some other sector, earn that X amount of money, or however. But then that is like you can, again, I don't want to be judgmental, but then try to avoid if taking a decision which will not cater to that X amount of money that your family required. About you, the first thing that you come into the sector is you obviously would have come with minimalism in mind, and then I think it is imperative that you reduce your expenses as much as possible. The financial aspect can be looked at, and I would see there's a catch into it. Okay, the previous previous set of batches who came into the sector were all like who went to foreign or in India were earning a huge paycheck, earned to a level to their 30s and 40s, and then came into this sector. That's the majority that we see. This is our generation have started earlier, like in our 20s itself. That's because maybe because of the increased awareness and the need for it also. Like there's more need now than that was like 20 years back. So yeah, I think this is a tricky thing. Again, when you talk to elders, I always keep requesting elders who are already part of this sector to give opportunities, paid opportunities for people so that they can sustain themselves at least. So that is in terms of financial. I feel it is good to be financially independent. It's not a problem if there's a concept called sponging. Okay, like you can if you already have a house with you, why do you have to struggle your own whole life to build another house for you, for your family? it makes little insane. So whoever is having that privilege can come out and then can work in this sector with relatively lesser pace. And then we can always sponge on friends. We can always ask friends. We can ask communities. We can ask parents. We can ask relatives. We can ask family. That's why they are for. Yeah, but then having financial independence gives you an extra confidence. At least I have, for me, it is a confidence booster to have a financial independence. So that's why I worked for 1.5 years, or else it would have been like six months in corporate job. I worked for 1.5 years just to save that X amount of money that I want as a security in my bank. And it is totally logical, totally correct to think in that lines and then make a move instead of saying that, okay, I don't need money and then making a decision. Obviously, you can live without money. I'm trying my best to reduce my expenses and live with least amount of money that I can have. But then having with so much, as I told you, this already is a depressing sector with so much issues around it. and then if your financials is also a problem, then it's going to affect your work only. So basically have your financials, some way of it either will help. And then the last is in terms of pressure from society, family. I think that's again another thing that I'm facing hugely. Um, I'd say first thing is communicate. I don't do, again, I'm giving this some piece of thing, but I don't do. It's good to communicate to a close set of people. That is, prefer mostly your parents, siblings, like own siblings, and then maybe close circle of friends, and then people whom you value. This need not be and cannot be done throughout to everyone you talk to, but at least to those people, I think we have to communicate uh, repeatedly, again and again, what we are trying to do. Okay, it is very, see how shattering or how difficult it was for you as an individual or me as an individual to come out of the mainstream. It's the same, in fact more for them. So I think we have to communicate things, but on a larger scale, I don't think everybody, we need to waste our time in communicating to everyone. And then we have to bluntly ignore and move on, and things like that is what I would say. We try to ignore such places, such situations, things like that. So funny thing I would I would say, one is in terms of in this is uh, my relatives. Okay, usually when I like 3 years or 4 years back, my relatives used to call me up and ask me to advise their kids on to crack that particular entrance exam or for career guidance. Okay, literally I have been contacted for career guidance 3 years back, 3 or 4 years back. Now the same set of people are calling me and then giving career guidance, like like um, so that's the irony associated with it. But then, yeah, ignoring the broader people, but then communicating with the closer ones helps. I think I've answered.
Yeah, thank you.
It was
So
longish,
now,
sorry.
no, it's okay. So now, like last thing is, what do you want? Like, what support you guys require right now? Like while working with Chennai Climate Action Group, and from people like who are in Chennai, or from people who are outside also. What support? What we can do?
Okay. First thing is general. Everybody is to be informed. Okay, well, it's like the basic thing, to be informed about all the issues that are happening, not to be ignorant, not to be blind to the issues. It's not necessary that everybody have to work, everybody can work, or everybody has the time, wherewithal, privilege. It needs a lot of privilege to work for environmental issues also. So it's not necessary, but then being informed helps. Talking about it helps a lot. So that is the first thing. So keep sharing these things in your Facebook, Insta, Twitter, to your friends, to your parents, and things like that. You can follow some of the profiles. Chennai Climate Action Group has, we have recently created a Facebook, pages in all social media. I would say it has Facebook, Insta, and then Twitter accounts. So follow them. Maybe we try our best to, in terms of keep people informed on various issues. So I think this weekend we'll have a detailed post on what is happening in Vedandangal and what are the issues associated with it, with all like reading materials also attached, but then the gist of it being given in a crisp and simple format. So that is one. You can keep following these pages. It's not only preferable, yeah. Since we are doing it, do follow Chennai Climate Action Group, but then there are lots of other people who are doing really awesome. Follow Madhavi for her super Instagram posts about her life in the farm. So that is the thing, like to be informed and to pass the information. And then if you still feel committed and you think that you have time to contribute, I think there's so much of work that anybody who come in, we have a work for you to do. Okay, like if you come in with any skills or you come in with no skills like me, you have work for we have work for you to do. You just have to start showing interest and contacting people. You can contact me in Chennai Climate Action Group or message in that page your interest and things like that. That we do, like, the scope of it is huge. Okay, like you can contribute in any way possible. If you're, like, for example, if you're a doctor, like, now with doctors being work shift after with the corona pandemic in place, if you as a group of doctors can come in and raise your voice for environmental issues, you'd be heard more than all of us. Or if you, it's like it, that is, if you're an artist, if you know something, you can write, you can design, you can make videos, or just come and be as a crowd with us. That's what I do mostly. And then however you can contribute, it's the scope for everyone to come and then contribute. You can just always reach out to us, and then slowly we can start working on various things. And I would say it's like it can be there should be lots of such things happening. So if you have the wherewithal and people like you can on your own start something in your place, collect few people, work with them, and then it's not necessary to start every time. There's some group which is already doing. Like I am, and the people who are part of Chennai Climate Action Group are also part of other groups who are doing some really nice work in terms of environment issues and things like that, and climate change issues and things like that. It totally depends on what is the level of commitment that you can give. But the least that you can do and you must do is to be aware of the issues and then spread the word.
Thank you, Karthik. And thank you for your time and this very honest and enriching views. Like it was not, you were not trying to, be someone. You were very honest, so I really like that. And I apologize for my bad network. Hopefully, I'll figure it out by next week. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you all in next week. I'm going to post. Link to Chennai Climate Action Group in the description. You all can follow them and follow their work. Thank you.